get mad flavor in your head. Here comes the brand new flavor in your head. Time for new flavor in your ear.
Live from Cortland, New York on the 90.5 FM airwaves through the central New York area brings you another episode of Mike and Leel Keeping It Real, brought to you by a brand new flavor of radio. Two hosts, two personalities, one radio show. Mike and Leel, we give our unique takes on the latest news in sports and pop culture. The request line is 607-753-4819. Once again, 607-753-4819. And boy, do we have a very special guest on this show today. To start off this episode, we are going to welcome the president of SUNY Cortland, President Fetterbaum. How's it going?
I'm fine. I'm honored to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you on this show tonight. So we want to ask you a couple of questions, right, Mike?
Yeah,
You know
I mean, We've been doing this show for the past 3 semesters, ever since I transferred here, and we really enjoy it. We put a lot of time, a lot of work into the show, and we're very honored to have you as a guest here today. So, I mean, I might as well just get the show on the road.
Let's go. SUNY Cortland enrollment is going up as applications skyrocketed to over 13,000 applications. Are you proud to see students wanting to come over here and become a Red Dragon? And is it more filling that this is happening during the 150 year of the school existence? Happy birthday to SUNY Cortland, by the way.
Well, thank you. It was a great weekend. I think there are a variety of reasons why, as our students say, we're a hot college. So first of all, I think it's just our growing reputation. Secondly, the New York Jets, which we had here for 5 years, brought thousands and thousands of guests. One example is when we had Tim Tebow here, we had 41,000 guests in 3 weeks.
Wow.
A lot of them were in junior high and high school. I've met students who came during that period, and they remember having a good time. They didn't remember the college very well, but they said to themselves, let's check it out, let's go back, because we have these good feelings. And then what they discover is a very impressive college. And of course, there are other reasons. The Excelsior Scholarship has made a big difference for New Yorkers, as you know. And so, just by word of mouth, we went way over 13,000 students for 1250 in the freshman class. So it's a very gifted group of young men and women who are coming to Cortland.
Tebow. Whoa.
And did you have the pleasure of meeting Tim Tebow?
I did. But my thrill was to meet Joe Namath.
Oh, yeah?
So he came, and it was really something very special. He was one of my heroes. I've always been a Jets fan, so it was kind of unexpected when I got that telephone call about the possibility they might come and check us out.
That's awesome. And I remember also, too, the New York Jets, when they were here on SUNY Cortland on the campus for training camp, they also were on the show HBO's Hard Knocks, which is training camp with the NFL team they do every year. So what was the experience like with all the cameras around campus, almost day in and day out, especially through those dog days of summer, and especially with all the celebrities and the names that you could see? I just want to know what that experience was.
Well, from my perspective, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a bit of a stargazer. So first of all, I was able to get autographs of a lot of the football players and then guests who came up from New York City. One thing that people don't know, I have all 5 copies of HBO's, Hard Knocks. And what they did, one of the scenes that you think is a locker room was actually a fake locker room. They set up in Corey Union by bringing in replicas, and that allowed them to film. They weren't actors. They just asked the players to act naturally, as pretend they were in a locker room. And, of course, the public never knew that. And I'm sort of revealing it this evening. But it was very, very exciting. And, just well-known celebrities came. Matter of fact, there was a show on television that Rex Ryan really liked, and one of the lead actors came. It was Sons of Anarchy. He stopped the whole practice and ran over to meet the star, and some other players came over as well. So it brought a lot of attention to the college, and it was great for some of our majors. The Jets allowed our students to be interns in all different areas. They actually helped teach a class in the summer, a sports management class. And so for our students, we now have them throughout the NFL because of those 5 summers.
We was talking a little bit before the show started, and I remember you mentioned Liam Neeson. You had the chance to meet him. I know me personally, if I met him, I'd be scared. From all them Taken movies, I would be shook. But what was that experience like?
Well, it was great. First of all, I was surprised what a large man he was, and I didn't realize how thick his Irish accent was. So he disguises it when he's acting. But he was very down to earth. He asked me what I did. As I was sharing with you, I met Spike Lee, I met Chris Rock, and a number of other stars. It was just thrilling, quite frankly. And of course, I tried to get them to come up to Cortland to teach and be executives in residence, but they didn't come. But it was great for the college. Just some examples: students who wanted to be athletic trainers. The first year, their head trainer, who's still there, John Melody, wouldn't allow our students to touch these $1 million players. But once he saw what they could do, he took them on as interns in the following years. And it was just things one after another like that. Communications majors, kinesiology majors, communication majors. At one point we had over 60 interns working for them. It was just fabulous.
So the Cortland football team was on SportsCenter top 10 plays a long time ago. I mean, it was 4 years ago to be exact. After the fake field goal touchdown score to win in Cortica in 2014, I want to know your opinion on that. To see Cortland on this big branded network such as ESPN.
Well, first of all, let's go back to the play. It was a comedy of errors initially. What happened is that the kicker didn't realize we had gotten down there sooner than we were expecting. We were out of timeouts. The clock's running down. Everybody's screaming on the sideline, "Where's the kicker?" He comes running in. The ball is sent back to the placeholder. He bobbles it. But they had practiced just the day before a play called Fire, Fire. What happens when the ball is bobbled, the holder picks it up, the kicker comes forward and blocks, the two people on the end peel off just as they practice it. He threw it with no time remaining, and we won the game. Extraordinary. It was on ESPN, and then at the end of the year, in December, it was one of the top 10 plays. Unfortunately, we didn't have really good film, so it was kind of shaky. If I had known it was going to be so great, I would have had a professional, film it. But we did get a lot of attention. And that was one of 7 consecutive years where we beat Ithaca College. We lost last year, and I bet you we take it back this year.
We definitely
I like the positivity. I think
can't
so
wait.
too.
And it's back at Cortland this year too.
It is,
Definitely
it
can't
is.
wait for that, and especially because it's the 150th anniversary, graduation class for SUNY Cortland. I think that game is just going to be a little more special, and the players can go out there with a lot more energy and intensity.
And the team is very good this year. They really should be undefeated. The one game they lost, they had 6 turnovers, and it's hard to win a game when you turn it over 6 times. So I think this is a team of destiny.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, me, normally if I lose, I'm ready to come back and get right at it. Pretty sure the football team is headed in the right direction, and they're going to be looking to take Cortica this year.
They definitely will.
If not, they can call me. I'll get on the football field.
Me too. I'm right there with you. And just to turn the focus to another football team, as we were talking earlier, we heard that you're a big fan of the New York Jets. And I just want to know, they had a big win on Sunday against Denver. What are your expectations for them this season?
Well, it's an interesting team. The first game, they blew out the Detroit Lions, and I thought, oh my God, there's a real deal now.
Yep.
And then they had some difficult games. And of course, their quarterback, and the NFL is a quarterback-driven league. He's only 21 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you have to bring him along slowly. I think Jeremy Bates, the offensive coordinator, did that in the last game. Isaiah Crowell had a
very good addition.
An amazing run game. So I was elated with what I saw. I just don't know what we're going to see week to week. Indianapolis, who they are seeing this Sunday, I think it's a team they could beat.
Definitely.
And then right after that is Minnesota, which is a very good team, but they got blown out by Buffalo. So it just proves the old axiom that anybody can beat anybody on a Sunday.
Any given Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really have enjoyed watching Sam Darnold this year, especially the rookie. It gets me a little upset. He's younger than me by a few months, and he's in the NFL. But
and he's also a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, exactly. And before he even had to take a snap on an NFL field.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoy watching him play. He looks like he's an NFL-ready quarterback. Obviously, if he's starting, it just looks like he was the right piece for the Jets, and I think it's a good. I think the Giants kind of missed out on drafting him at number 2 in the past draft.
So time will tell. Barkley, I think, will materialize into a very fine.
I think Barkley, he's a talent that is going to be hard to find if drafts coming forward. But the way how I look at it, I'm gonna be really honest with you. Eli Manning is my guy, but to me, he's washed up. It's time for him to
So
go.
his days are numbered.
His days is
Well, think of it. What an amazing draft this was. You had Baker Mayfield, who's proving himself.
Mm-hmm.
You have Josh Rosen, who's going to develop. You have Sam Darnold, who we all know about. Lamar Jackson looked great, and Josh Allen.
Yep.
5 quarterbacks that could mature into starters and change the league. I'm not a big fan of Boston. I'm sure you're, the Patriots, because they put my Jets down every year.
I'm a big Patriots fan.
But, one day Brady's going to retire and Belichick will retire, and I think...
and that's the Jets' time.
And then I think things are going to start to change.
I'm not a big fan of the Jets coaching staff. I believe they are babying Sam Darnold. Yes, I know he's 21. I know he's still a baby. But you can't treat the guy like a baby. At some point, you got to release the training wheels. I mean, to me, they might as well give him a pacifier. I mean, it's that bad. They really babying him. I feel like he has potential, and he's going to make his fair share of mistakes. He's young. You got to let him grow. You got to let him grow from that.
And I think they did do that, though, on Sunday, letting him finally throw the deep ball and getting Robbie Anderson
involved.
They
opened up the playbook, is what they said. But I agree with you. I think they've brought him along quite slow, and I think he's ready. He doesn't seem to make the same mistake twice.
So I think the Jets really did well in drafting him.
Yes, and also you saying not like in Boston, I'm sure you're definitely looking forward to this game tonight with the Yankees and the Red Sox.
I am.
The Yankees, of course, needing to win.
Oh, what happened yesterday was so embarrassing.
Ridiculous.
I don't know what to even make of it. What that proves when you have a game is that if you can break the spirit of the other team,
you really can take over it.
You see that in football. But something went terribly wrong. I'm a Mets fan, but when the Mets aren't doing well, and they're not this year, I become a Yankee fan. And so we'll see what happens.
I'm a diehard Mets fan, and I absolutely loved what I saw last night.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, and it's going to be a good game tonight with CC Sabathia on the mound. Yankees, of course, need a win to not be eliminated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, coming back to football real quick, we talked about the Jets. We talked about how we think Sam Darnold is going to be something special in the NFL. I want to get your opinion on the Giants. We just talked about it, how me and Mike, we felt, and I've been a strong guy saying on my radio show that I felt that the Giants passed up on Sam Darnold.
Sure.
Nothing against Saquon Barkley. I believe he's talented. I believe if you get him the ball in space, he can do almost anything with it. But Sam Darnold would have been that guy to, all right, just like in the Ravens with Joe Flacco.
Mm-hmm.
You see how Lamar Jackson got drafted. Now Joe Flacco's playing out of his mind. It would have been a certain situation. Let's say if they kept Eli, knowing that you drafted Sam Darnold, it would have got Eli Manning to probably play a little bit more better.
Put a little pressure on him.
You know what I'm saying? That sense of urgency. So.
Well, I'll tell you what my perspective is, and part of this is Sports Illustrated, which I enjoy reading.
I think they made a calculation with Pat Schumer coming in that Eli could give them a couple more years.
And so they probably looked at who's in the junior class, who's in the sophomore class of quarterbacks they could draft, because they did feel that Barkley was once in a generation. If you have the other pieces, I am surprised how poorly they're playing, quite frankly. And if they don't turn it around, I think it's going to be a long, long season for Giants fans, because they had very high expectations. With Jets, from year to year, we don't know what to expect since the Mark Sanchez years when we made it to the playoffs twice. I remain hopeful about the Jets because we have such a big war chest. I think we have the highest, or the second highest, of free agency money going into next year, over $90 million. So they're going to be able to get some really first-rate talent. And that's what you do in the NFL. You steal from each other, and then you have to draft well. And, the real disappointment with the drafts, the last year that Rex was here, John Issack, who was the GM, had 12 draft choices, and they're all out of the NFL. I mean, how is that possible? But it happened. And, of course, even if half of them had materialized, think of where they would be. And that's why Belichick is so amazing. He seems just pluck people out of the air and see something special in them. And look what happened.
And that's all it goes down to, because all these teams that you see that are always championship caliber teams, when you look down their roster, it's always that one draft where they have about 9 players that actually materialize to good players that are always on the field on both sides. And it's pretty insane to see how some teams can draft so well and how other teams can draft so poor. I agree with what Leel was saying with the Giants, that Sam Darnold could have been that type of guy to put some pressure on Eli to play better, and he could have been that guy as to pass the torch over to. So eventually when it was time, Sam Darnold would become the starter. But evidently they did go with Saquon Barkley. I think he's still going to have a fantastic NFL career. He looks like a freak of nature on the field, the plays that he makes, and it's really exciting.
I'll tell you where I think a number of teams made a mistake. Bridgewater is really an outstanding player.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
They were frightened about his injury.
Most definitely.
But, he showed in the preseason, and of all teams, New Orleans took him.
Yep.
God forbid something should happen to Breeze. And, of course, you saw last night he broke the NFL record. But there should have been a number of other teams bidding for his talent.
Oh, definitely.
I thought the same thing. I thought that he's proven that he could be a successful quarterback in the NFL. But, when you have injuries like that, I can understand, from a team's perspective, you don't want to waste money on a guy who might get injured again, who might not perform to the same level that he had prior to the injury. But I really thought that, and he showed shades of it in preseason. That's probably why the Saints got him.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that he's a legit quarterback. You know what I'm saying? I believe he's a starting quarterback. I would go as far as that. I believe he can start in the NFL.
I think you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, and speaking of other guys that should be starting quarterback, I believe Colin Kaepernick should definitely be a starting quarterback for a team.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, teams just don't want to deal with the media.
Yeah,
and
he's being blackballed. I really do believe that.
I'm glad we're hearing that from you, because I don't want people thinking I'm crazy. I've been a huge proponent of that on the show. I always, at the end of the day, I remember him because of what he did. And I feel that there are quarterbacks in the league right now who I'm not going to name because I'm not going to be disrespectful, but there's some quarterbacks in the NFL right now who I feel, Kaepernick definitely, if they can have a job in the NFL, he should have one. He's
a talent. He was like a Michael Vick. He had to move around. And
he almost won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. But, we're an interesting nation. As you know, after the election, you can see what's going on. So, the owners are very sensitive, and I understand it's a business.
And so, unfortunately, now there is a suit going on. We'll go to trial at some point. It'll be interesting to see what the results are.
I think he's going to come out on top on that. It's definitely going to be an interesting trial. I'm glad that you actually brought that up, because when I look into this trial, it's talking about the collusion and whatnot for teams to not sign him. I find it hard to believe not one GM, there's going to be any type of comment from one GM saying to another GM or another owner about not signing this guy or trading for this player to have them on their roster. I would find it really hard to believe if no evidence or no type of comments were made about him, because there definitely had to have been.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. How about that Nike ad, believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything? I believe that, it's a good way to get the message out there. Even if, in my opinion, I believe Nike is doing it from a business perspective because they saw an opportunity to make money, so it benefits them. But even if it's from that perspective, still getting the message out there, it's a good thing.
I agree. I think they took a calculated risk. I think they brought in folks and they ran the ads and they said there was actually different breakdown by age. So your generation loved it.
Mm-hmm.
People probably my generation had some qualms.
But who buys lots of Nike products? It's not 65-year-olds.
Yeah.
It's
younger people.
And so I think it is a great message, but also it was a very strong business decision, and I think they're going to benefit from it.
Definitely.
I think I heard that a couple of weeks after the ads ran, people were buying Nike out the gazoo.
And I just feel like Nike is that brand that you just can't get away from it. It's just everywhere. I feel like it's almost sold in any type of store. And it's just, it's one of those brands that I feel like they couldn't do no wrong, and they could take advantage of this situation with Colin Kaepernick, use it, and definitely make a great business
I
decision.
heard Under Armour wish they had done it.
I'm pretty sure a lot of brands wish they
done it.
So, back to the New York Jets when they were here. So, in 2009, 2010, they were here for the year, and then they went in 2011 back to Florham Park for the Jets training facility that they built. I remember back when I was younger, they were in Hofstra. And I remember when they left Hofstra to come to Cortland, and then they they had went back to Hofstra for like a practice, in which it was just one-time thing where they went for a few days. Is there a chance of the Jets having a return to SUNY Cortland in the near future?
It will be very hard. We have made overtures to them. As a matter of fact, I am going down to see the leadership, but
it's a whole group of different people, so it's probably unlikely. They've never said no, but less and less likely. The reason that Rex Ryan brought them, and there are 14 NFL teams that do this, is that by going away from your family, you build this team chemistry, this band of brothers. You can see it at Cortland in the 5 years they were here. Initially, nobody knows anybody, or they're semi-friendly. By the end of the training camp, the linebackers are all hanging out, the linemen are all hanging out. They really did build this sense of ownership of each other and had each other's back. And I think that's the real value of going away to a college. The Steelers, there's so many teams that do this. So it will be a real long shot, but we never say no. We try to keep the dialogue open, but it really is up to the coach.
Can you describe the impact? You talked about the impact it had on the school, but what about the county, the Cortland area in general?
Excellent question. So it brought millions of dollars when you think of the people who ate here, who slept here, who shopped here. We actually had our economics department do with the geographers an interpretation of what that meant economically, and it was $5 or $6 million a year. So they probably bought $30 million over a 5-year period to the county. Not only to the county, we don't have enough hotels, so people were staying in Ithaca and Syracuse, in Binghamton, and they would come during the day and observe. There were buses that brought people up from New York City. It turns out that the Jets are a very local national team in that sense. Most of their fan base is in, this tri-state area, whereas if you're the Green Bay Packers, it's, all over the nation, though obviously Wisconsin is one of those areas. So it did so much for our county and just visibility. It was marvelous. People went on wine tours. They found out what else is in this area. And so it was really impressive what it did for the county, of course, and tremendous for the college.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely bet, especially if you had players with the likes of LaDainian Tomlinson at the time, Jason Taylor, and future Hall of Famer Darrelle Revis. I mean, a lot of names, definitely a lot of people.
And I'll tell you what was interesting. Some evenings, Coach let them out, and so they would go down town, and they ate in Bricks, and they ate in all kinds of restaurants. I remember walking into Harry Tony's, and there was Mark Sanchez and with 4 or 5 receivers, and they were just yucking it up, and and people, were waving and shouting out to them. And when people found out that they were there, more people ate at these restaurants, hoping to catch a glimpse of them.
Yeah, I also remember in the Hard Knocks episode, they would have the flicks of them being around town and whatnot, some of the players, and I remember seeing some of them going to Great and also Dark Horse on Main Street. So.
I'm not allowed to discuss the Dark.
Well, I would say this. I think the Jets still have a lasting effect on this campus because I remember me when I first heard about the school ever, it was because the Jets worked out here. Me being the big football fan that I am, the big sports fan that I am, me and my dad, we was, we wanted to go to a training camp, and we was like, where do the Jets work out? I asked him that. He was like, Cortland. So that's when, me being curious at a young age, I'm looking up Cortland, and that's how I first got in tune with the school. So later on, when it came time for me to go to college, and I saw Cortland, I'm like, oh, okay, that's where the Jets used to work out, and, it built the familiarity, basically.
Yeah. Also, I'll tell you, our alums were very generous, and still are, because we had national press. We were on ESPN, we were on SportsCenter. The visibility we got was really extraordinary, and our alumni base just loved it.
And since we're celebrating the 150th year anniversary of Cortland this year, is there going to be anything special at this graduation or any type of alumni that will be attending this year's graduation?
I can't tell you. It's a secret.
Oh, yes?
Yeah. So we're doing all
Looking forward to it.
We're doing all kinds of things this year. Of course, this last weekend we had a big birthday party, and I don't know if you got to see the fireworks. They were extraordinary.
I heard them.
Yeah, I heard them. I definitely heard them. I can tell you that.
Visually, they were amazing. We had cake. I would recommend to people go see the play. Annie Get Your Gun. Our students are absolutely fabulous.
We had guest lectures. We had on Saturday morning a group of music historians. I don't know how many of you know this, or the listening audience. We had the Grateful Dead here. We had Billy Joel. It was extraordinary, the musicians that came in the late 70s and 80s, and it was just fascinating to hear these great stories. Black Sabbath, you name it.
Well, we want to thank you for hanging out with us today. It was a pleasure having you, and we look forward to once again probably having you again. I think that the school in general is trending upwards. I'm proud to be a student here. I love what I do. I love working with Mike here at the radio station. I believe it's a perfect opportunity for kids to have a voice and talk about what they believe in. I think it's a really good situation over here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I would agree with you.
And thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, we definitely appreciate it. We're definitely honored to have you on the show. Hopefully, sometime in the future we could.
Please invite me again.
We definitely will. I mean, I'm looking forward to this graduation. I'm honored to be a part of it for the 150th year. And once again, thank you. That's President Bitterbaum, everybody.
All right, y'all. Once again, the request line is 607-753-4819. Once again, 607-753-4819. We're going to go on a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to get into our hip-hop section of the show with a couple guests. Y'all don't want to go nowhere. We're keeping it real.
Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I know we're not on.
I hope not.
Thank you for having me, Leo.
Want to take pictures?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I want to take
You want to take it here? I want to take it here. Well, we have the studio and everything.
Where do you want to take it?
We have this in the back end.
We want a picture right here.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, get her.
Yeah, I think being a DJ would be a lot of fun.
Oh, definitely.
Play the music you love.
Yeah.
And not many colleges have radio programs too. I remember that's Dr. favorite thing. Not many of them have an FM.
Yeah, we were very lucky to get this news.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you that
I was here. I was watching the
Too uncasual.
Yeah, I'll be between you. Come here.
So how this works, you can choose what you want, informal or formal.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you guys said this too. Put it on the Instagram and the website.
You guys like it.
That was great. That was really good. The chemistry was going back and forth.
I would know. I love talking my jets, obviously.
It sounded great. We recorded the whole thing,
Oh, well, good.
so we can have that. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
Thank you. I know you have more guests coming in.
Yeah.
Let me get out of the way.
That was awesome.
Thank you for the gift. Yeah. Well, whenever you think it's appropriate, let me know.
Enjoy it again.
Thanks.
You got your fanny pack.
Yeah, no, I got all my goodies. You never know when I'll need them.
We got a whole new.
Thank you.
We got a whole bunch of shirts coming in, so I'll get those to you.
Yeah, bro. Alright, yo, what's good, homie?
Great job, man.
Yo, my Jesus is good with his foot.
Yeah, you need shit.
Word.
Alright, guys. Thank you.
Congrats,
my
I'll make sure you guys do any questions.
My Jesus is good. Is that anyone's bag there?